like I love and respect wrestling so much that I never wanted to let wrestling down and like wrestling fans
Sure.
down, if that makes sense. And um I was just so incredibly nervous that day. And then yeah, at the end of the match, I pulled off the diamond cutter on the Immaculate Ray St. John, who I learned a lot from that night. It was, like one of the tough, I've only had two matches, but he was an incredibly tough opponent and I respect him greatly. Someone else I've watched with. And yeah, I was lucky enough to hit the diamond cutter and 1, 2, 3 got the
Hell
pin.
yeah,
And
man.
yeah, and just in terms of not remembering it, I don't know if I like dissociated or blacked out, because I remember standing in front of the curtain and I heard my music play and like literally like it went black. And then when I came to, I was like in the ring, like on the second rope, like looking, and I turned around and there's Ray St. John. I'm about to wrestle a match. And I'm like, okay, like here we are.
It's Johnny Late Night! And now here's your host, Johnny Rogers!
Welcome everyone to episode number 35 of the Johnny Rogers Show. My guest today is a fellow wrestling addict. In fact, you can check him out on the wrestling podcast called Pods Unknown. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend and yours, Sam Hudson.
Hey, Johnny. Hello, everyone.
Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me, man. This is awesome. It's been far too long, so this is going to be
way
fun.
too long.
Yeah, we kind of go way back in a weird millennial
Yeah, I don't
type
know.
way.
We start with that. Like we literally met each other at like a campground when we
Campground,
were
yeah,
kids.
yeah, yeah. And you were wearing a Get Her Done shirt. I don't know why I remember that specifically. Yeah,
I love
we just
that's
kind
the
of
lasting memory.
yeah, we
That's
just
so
kind of
funny.
clicked, I guess. And yeah, we've been Facebook friends since, and we had a couple connections later on down the way too. And yeah, it's just funny how the
It
world can feel
surprised
small
me.
sometimes.
Yeah, and it surprised me too, like that I ended up like meeting like Dave as well,
Yeah,
like through comedy, and I was just
yeah,
like, oh shit, I didn't even know you guys were related. But I was like, I guess that makes sense, like you know.
yeah, yeah. There's a few of us Hudsons rolling
I'm
around,
like,
but
yeah, how
yeah,
many
that's
Hudsons are there?
yeah. There 4. We all do different stuff, but yeah, like you had pod jobs. Is that still?
Yeah, I had pod jobs way back then. That was like the first
Yeah,
kind of podcast run idea that I wanted to like go with. At the time when podcasts were coming out, I was thinking, oh, I need to have like a theme to my podcast so that
right.
like people, like, so it's different or something. But then I found it's much more freeing to just be like, this is the Johnny Rogers Show. Like, this is just
Yeah,
me. You know, it's whatever I want to
yeah,
talk about with each guest, right? Or whatever the guest really wants to talk about as well.
right.
We also both reconnected because we got COVID at like the exact same time.
Yeah,
It was,
the day the mask mandate lifted, where we are as
yeah,
well.
literally. That's how we'll always remember it.
Yeah,
Ontario decides to take off the masks, and we're both like, yeah, COVID.
yeah, yeah. That was an interesting ride, which I'm
Did you
sure
get
we'll
it
get.
prior to this? Like, had you had it
No,
before?
this was the first time. It
First
was
time.
my
Same thing with
first.
me, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. It's kind of a weird experience, right? Like it's the last couple of years we've all been like everyone's been going through the same situation and precaution, 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 and then it's just all of a sudden and you take the test and it's like, all right, I guess strap in, see what happens.
Yeah. There's part of me that was like, I wanted it to be positive just so I knew that that's what it was because I had gone out to eat and I was like, maybe I got food poisoning. Like, I was like
Right.
convinced that I had food poisoning because I just was like chills and sweating and cold and like just vomiting constantly. And I was like, this has got to be like something, right? Like, for sure I ate something bad. And my girlfriend was like, no, that was like days ago. Like it would have already hit you if that had been food poisoning. But then, yeah, COVID literally solved it.
Yeah, that's my story's almost the same in that we both tested positive on the Monday, and then the Sunday, I guess the night before, I guess would have been when symptoms started, if you will. But even then, it didn't feel like bad that first night. It wasn't 100%. And then yeah, the
Mm,
next morning, like sweaty, nausea, everything. And then I don't want to get into this, but like I'm vaccinated, and I believe
yeah,
that helped
yeah.
and everything. And after the first couple of days, it was seemed like smooth sailing. Knock on wood, just in case.
Yeah, no, no, definitely. Like I hope that this at least gives us a little bit of immunity or something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
maybe this is
I'm
the
not a
herd immunity that they're
scientist, but
talking about. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
hopefully, you know.
I guess that's
I
what I
don't plan
kept
on leaving
saying.
my house for the next 6 years, but we'll see.
I know, like I kept like my mom's a nurse, so I kept calling her, being like, what do I do like in this situation here? And she's kind of just like giving me her best advice too, but it's based off of like if you had a cold or sick. I'm like, nobody really
Right.
fucking knows at this point what to do, especially if you're vaccinated and you still
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
You're just like,
It's
oh
still kind
god,
of. How was your isolation? Because I know we were chatting a bit.
yeah.
Like we had a bit of a different scenario because you were isolating in your entire home, right?
Yeah, I at least had the like my home here. So I have, we have it's 2 bedrooms, so we have like an office and then like a bedroom space. So it's easy even if we were like, both feeling so sick and want to like keep a distance, but
Right.
we both had it at the same time. So it's like
Yeah.
you just isolate together. But like yeah, just wear a mask like in the building. And the thing is like most people are actually still wearing masks.
Right.
So it didn't even really like occur to some people that you're like standing near, like you try to keep your distance and whatnot, but like mostly
Yeah.
just stayed in and ordered food in.
Yeah, I ordered a bunch of takeout. Mine was a little different because I live with two of my best friends and their
Yeah, how
daughter.
does
She's
that work?
3. And yeah, it was kind of scary. Luckily, that morning that I ended up testing positive, I kind of had the force. I'm like, just in case this is, like I called in sick to work that day, and then I waited for they all worked that day, and so everyone was out of the house and went downstairs, sure enough, the positive test. So I opened every window in our place and
That's
just
what I kept doing. Everyone was just airing it all constantly.
yeah, opened every window. And I called them, let them know. And, it was almost like prepping for a zombie apocalypse or something. Got everything I needed and just locked myself in my room. And yeah, and so far, again, knock on wood, I'm going to be doing that a lot. It seems like it worked. They have no symptoms and they've tested. It's all negative. So I guess I'm thankful for that.
I mean, like right away, I was like, "Oh, that's the vaccine at work. Like that's why I didn't like die from this." You know what I mean? Like I kept thinking when I had it, and it was like bad, like it was really bad. That I was like, there was people that got this in 2020, and they had no idea what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
Like and then their doctor had no idea what the fuck it was, and then they just had to like deal with it, and then they get so bad that they go to emergency, and emergency doesn't know what to do. Like man,
and the horror stories of like hospitals overflowing,
putting people on ventilators, and then like the ventilator, the body basically is like, well, this machine is breathing for me now, so when you take them off the ventilator, they would just give out. They just couldn't, like their body just shut down on them. So I'm like, the fact that we've come that far in 2 years is just nuts.
Well, the fact that you and I can just chat about this and like almost laugh about it.
Yeah, like we're like, it's an old thing.
And it's kind of this horrific thing that's like, I don't quote me on it, but like it's killed more people than both world wars combined or something now. And like, it's just
fact check that, but
yeah, for sure. But it's just, it's weird.
Comedy
right?
podcast.
Like,
Please don't come here for your statistics. Google it always.
Yeah, Google is definitely where to go.
Yeah. We're just talking shit.
Did you have the, if you will, come to Jesus moment when you saw the 2 lines on the test?
I was like, oh, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah. That's like my first.
I knew I was going to get it eventually, though. That's the thing. Like I was
Right.
like, it's going to happen. Like it's just, there's no way that we're ever going to get to a place where it's 0. Like there's nobody ever going to. It's the new cold. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
It's just found a way to mutate every single time, and so.
Yeah, it's scary that way. I had a couple negative tests first, which was scary, and like the first one, my heart was definitely racing, and then it came back negative, which wasn't true, I guess. But then, the positive one.
My shit hit immediately. It was like, it says wait 15 minutes. That shit was 2 lines dark. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, we shared each other the photos of our test there, and like your positive line was like pretty dark red.
It was like the devil himself just took a marker and just really carved that shit in.
Yeah, he wanted you to know, but like, that's enough of COVID. We had COVID. It was fun.
Yeah, it
We're
was
at
whatever.
isolation.
Let's get over it. Let's talk about, we got WrestleMania coming up. What is it? Saturday?
Yeah, as of the time of recording, it's this weekend.
Okay. So it's just passed. So then please excuse us for any of the hot takes that we're about to drop.
Did you check out WrestleMania? That was one heck of an event over those 2 days, you know?
Yeah.
The most stupendous, whatever.
Okay, well, will it still be going into Sunday? Is that the idea?
Yeah, it's 2 nights again this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I've been tuning
they started
out
that
of it.
with oh look, we're back. They started that with COVID. It turned into a 2-night event, and then this was the 3rd year it's been 2 nights, I guess. And yeah, it's exciting. You know, WrestleMania is kind of if anyone doesn't know wrestling, it's the Super Bowl of wrestling, if you will. Like there's multiple companies and everything, but everyone kind of gets together with people they know and watches WrestleMania. And it's just a big moment for wrestling fans worldwide, really.
Yeah, and it's been like, well, they're on 38 now, so like
Yeah.
it's a legacy at this point. It's been going on for like insane amount of time. One of my questions that I wanted to ask you was, if you had to pick one, what's your favorite WrestleMania moment?
My favorite moment, God, that's a tough one, man. That's we've
You
kind
can say
of, if you
match as
listen to
well.
Pods Unknown, it's a podcast starring three gentlemen going over different pay-per-views. We just had WrestleMania month, and we were going through my favorite WrestleMania show. WrestleMania 20 was really important to me as a kid. So was WrestleMania 19. If I had to pick a single moment, I guess it would be within WrestleMania 19. Stone Cold versus The Rock. It was their third match at WrestleMania. That match was super important to me growing up. I watched it, I don't even know how many times, and I dabbled a little bit in pro wrestling myself. Went through a school and still am a part of it, and had a couple matches. And the day of my first match, I watched Stone Cold and The Rock at WrestleMania 19 just to kind of get that mindset of like, you know, this is what inspired me, and like now I need to take that going into. So yeah, I guess if I were to pick one moment, it was when The Rock finally beat Stone Cold at WrestleMania 19.
Yeah, because I was just gonna say I was trying to pull it up here. I thought there was there's this great account on Instagram called Best of Pro Wrestling,
Right.
and I thought for sure that it was that clip from 19, but it was from 17.
Oh, this is from 7. This honestly,
Yeah.
most people, yeah, big rock bottom. Yeah. Most
These
people
matches
consider
were
this
like insane.
yeah, Stone Cold and The Rock was just a whole other level. Most people consider their second WrestleMania match here at 17 to be their greatest. I mean, I could have that argument. 19 is definitely my favorite, just with what it, you know, The Rock was kind of the bad guy in that scenario, and ended up being Stone Cold's retirement match. So it was just really impactful in a lot of ways. But yeah, this match was also just like Stone Cold and The Rock knew they were just going to tear the house down that night.
That stunner is also
yeah.
that stunner reaction that he did there too is so great, because it forever became a part of those like memorable stunners where you could just tell that the guys were trying to outdo themselves every time they got hit from it.
Yeah.
Some people like Michaels would flip over the rope after getting stunned and just be outside of the ring still rolling around.
The year after that WrestleMania there, Stone Cold wrestled Scott Hall, and we just went over WrestleMania 18 on Pods Unknown, and Scott Hall, like Stone Cold hits the stunner and Scott Hall jumps what feels like 30 feet in the air and just drops straight back down.
I wonder if like he got like pissed off at that at first, because there is a thing of like overselling where you're like, all right, now you're just mocking me. Like there's like you can make it look good, and then there's the oversell of like, okay, well, what's happening?
I guess it's kind of a fine line. Like, again, I am by no means an expert. Like, I've been a lifelong fan of professional wrestling, and like I said, I started to do the training, and I had a couple matches before COVID and everything. But
you did more than me, man. I did training for a bit, and then I didn't wrestle. I just did referee stuff.
Yeah. That's refs a very important part of the match, right? If you don't got a ref, then the match doesn't flow. So
yeah.
That's my wrestling teacher also started as a ref as well. So that's, again, don't be ashamed if you are by any means. It's, again, very important.
No. Sorry, I cut you off though.
No, that's okay. I was just with overselling. It can definitely be a fine line. Like, just if we're going through the library, SummerSlam 2005, Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan. It's hotly debated to this day whether or not Shawn Michaels was insulting Hulk Hogan. I mean, it made a memorable match in a lot of ways. But yeah, you can, like with The Rock, it never feels like he's, quote unquote, insulting Stone Cold. Like, right, he's just, Stone Cold hit the stunner so hard that The Rock ended up flipping a few times.
It sprung him out. It straightened him right out.
SummerSlam 05 with Shawn Michaels and Hogan, Hulk Hogan throws a punch and Shawn Michaels falls down, gets back up, and falls down again. So
what are your thoughts on Triple H retiring?
It's honestly, it's funny you asked that. I've thought about that a lot. I've never really like publicly said anything. Not that my opinion matters at all, but
No, of course it does, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
50
that.
people are
But
gonna watch this.
I'm just a guy. That's why. Like, I'm nobody. But it's sad. It's Triple H is, I feel like every wrestler, every fan, everyone like knows Triple H, and he's had an impact on some form of their entertainment for years and years. And it just, obviously he's retiring for the benefit of his health and his family, which is absolutely the right choice. And there's no other way, but it's almost sad in a sense that he doesn't get that final go, that retirement match is the retirement
last match where he
like,
wins the belt and then he kind of just gives it up, like relinquishes it.
No, well, like,
I mean? Like,
something along
hangs
that
it
lines.
up in that sense,
Yeah, like a lot of guys go out on their back, if you will, like you don't win your last match.
You leave the title. Bret Hart tried to, and look what happened there.
That's a whole other story. But yeah, like it's just it's sad that Triple H doesn't get the last moment, but at the same time, it's also kind of poetic for Triple H because Triple H was such a workhorse. Like, here's a fun trivia question for you: name a bad match with Triple H. Right?
I'd have to dig to
you'd have to dig, and that's
stuff.
what I'm saying is that it's almost poetic for Triple H that his last match he just went out as per usual, didn't expect it to be the last match, so it's kind of like it's kind of bittersweet in that way. Like, again, absolutely the right choice. He needs to be there for his family and for himself to stay alive, but the last time he went out, he didn't know it was the last time, and it was what it was. So yeah,
that's true. That is a good way to look at it also, though.
Yeah, I've been processing it a lot, to be honest. Again, we've both been stuck in isolation, so
you
have a lot of extra time to think about every word and decision you've ever made in your life. But yeah, it's just like I'm happy that he has if I can make an evolution Triple H pun, he's drawn that line in the sand. But yeah, like it is, hearing Triple H's music hit and watching one of his WrestleMania entrances is just unlike anything else.
It was somebody who knew how to put on a show, and I just would love to read his autobiography or something too, because you look at a guy, just a normal there's so many people that want to be wrestlers, and there's so many wrestlers that go through this industry, but he didn't just go through the industry, he worked his way to the absolute top, to the point where he's now pretty much running everything.
He was until
coming into the company to that point, even if he's not doing it now, to get to that point from where he started is just a remarkable journey.
It's absolutely nuts. It's it's like whenever you apply for a job or whatever, and they're like, the current CEO started off as just a cashier.
He's an intern.
And Triple H was that for sure, right? He was just a guy who didn't go all the way in WCW, jumped over, and then ended up running the developmental territory, which what a lot of people, look back on fondly. And the only reason he stopped is quite literally because his heart stopped. So
I mean, he wouldn't have stopped otherwise.
Yeah, it's a noble way to leave your position, I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure. I also noticed I want to hear your thoughts on Brock Lesnar transferring from being such a heel to this baby face almost. He's just he was the bad guy for so long, his whole career. I can't even recall a time where he was really viewed for even more than a second as a good guy.
Yeah,
he was always the monster. He was always you're scared of, he was just gonna rush in and cause chaos, basically, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the guy, right? He's been that size monster since he was 18 or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember watching Brock Lesnar as a kid, and when he came in, it was just wow, that is a large man. And it's not even, he hasn't always necessarily been the heel, the bad guy, but he's never really dove headfirst into being the good guy, and
chumming up with fans and
and his latest sabbatical, he grew some hair and learned how to become a butcher, I guess, and now he's wearing plaid, being the Canadian lumberjack, and I enjoy it. It's different, and it's this is Roman versus Brock 3, I guess, at WrestleMania, similar to Rock and ironically enough, it is similar to Stone Cold and The Rock because the third match they switched which side they were on. I never thought of it that way.
See
Revelations on the Johnny Rogers
yeah.
show.
yeah, wrestling revelations.
But yeah, like I'm definitely excited. It's a title unification match, I guess, and that's an interesting concept.
Fun.
Yeah. I mean, the Universal Championship isn't even that old of a belt. It came out in 2016, 2017. So interesting, but that's WWE. Things change on a daily basis. But yeah, I think
they just
Brock,
alter the storyline so much.
Yeah, Brock is a good guy in terms of the altering storylines. Like, I think it works, but Roman as the bad guy is he's unreal. Like, it's a lot of people were not.
There's a look.
yeah.
Just it's just a stare. You're like, oh shit, that guy's gonna fuck you up.
And yeah, he's been champion like 500 days or something, and yeah, he fits that role really well when he was the good guy for so long, and I think he's really flourishing as being the bad guy.
He's someone too that has really grown up through the industry. When you look at where he started with NXT, and what was it? What was their group? Was it I want to say
the Shield?
The Shield, yeah.
Well, even he grew up in wrestling, right? Like, his dad was part of the Wild Samoans, and he's been
born and bred for this.
His cousins are like the Usos, who are like the tag team champions.
Which must be so cool, right? To just be traveling around with family, kind of like.
Yeah. Well, his cousin is also The Rock. You remember him?
Yeah. You remember that guy? He makes an appearance here and there.
He went on to do something after wrestling.
I just couldn't imagine that, like growing up in like a wrestling family. Like for me to tell my parents when I was a kid that I wanted to be a wrestler when I grew up, they were like, "Oh my God, where did we go wrong?" You know what I mean? Like. But to some of these people, they're like, no, we need to do this. Like, wrestling is in your blood. Like,
it's like a rite of passage almost. And like I definitely know that because I definitely told my parents a few times that I want to be a wrestler when I grow up, and they were like, no, you don't. You don't. Then it was really fun that, again, my first match, my parents did end up coming to that, and they had a great time. I mean, at least that's what they tell me. They could be great liars, but no, like, it was, seeing them cheer after the match and everything was a really cool moment. So I didn't have like anyone in my family that liked wrestling. Like, I was the only one, and growing up in wrestling is like, I'm almost jealous of it.
Yeah, I know. You're like, God damn, that's like exactly what I would have
could have been.
It's better to earn it on your own though, because there's something to be said about like just taking that leap. Like, what was the moment for you that we were like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take the classes. I'm gonna go for it. Because plenty of people like say that they want to do. This is my big thing on this show. Is so many people say they want to do something, and then nothing happens.
And nothing happened. Yeah, I mean, I won't lie. Like, I definitely like contemplated it for a while. Chinlock Wrestling is the promotion. They're based out of Kingston, Ontario. Wonderful promotion. I went to like all their shows. I knew a couple of the people who run Chinlock. So when it was first announced that the Chinlock Wrestling School was being formed, it was kind of like, I was one of those people who was like, if I ever had a chance to do a wrestling school, like, I would want to do it. And that was kind of something I had in my brain like my entire life. And so I was kind of like in a pretty transitional period in my life, and I wasn't really sure like where I was going. And then sure enough, Chinlock announced the wrestling school, and I knew like CJ Felony, he was the head trainer. So I knew him, and so we started talking about it. And then Chinlock put on a show kind of like at the school, like before the school started kind of thing. And I went with my brother Ben, not Dave, Dave, but I went with my brother Ben to that show, and just watching Chinlock, I could just feel it. And I was like, like this is it. This is the moment where I want to be here. I want to wrestle in that ring. And I went home and signed the paper and sent it off. And yeah, it was the absolute best time of my life, like learning wrestling. It's just, you almost have imposter syndrome the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, because
you
even
also
just
have like this innate, probably like there's something to be said when you like watch and admire. I want to get off of wrestling to do a better analogy here, but like, let's say for example, you like absolutely love watching basketball. You're like the biggest basketball freak ever. and then one day you go to like learn at a basketball camp, just even if you never had touched a basketball, there's going to be an already innate like understanding of like what to do because you've watched the best of the best do it. So I imagine it's the same thing with wrestling. You already are like, oh, I know what a tie-up is. I know what a clothesline is. I know what an RKO looks like. And then to get shown like the steps of it, it's like can just flow so much easier than someone who has never watched wrestling just walks into a wrestling school and decides to learn. It's not going to be as right away.
Yeah, like that's the weirdest way I guess I can explain it is that you
like, did that happen for you is what I'm saying?
Definitely, yeah. Like I was shaking the first night at wrestling class. We didn't even like wrestle, but I just we all had to do, we had to line up, we walked in the ring, and then we just kind of had like an interview, and I was shaking just stepping into the ring for the first time. Like it's something that I'd always and like you said, the way you build it up and think about it, something I learned very quickly is that wrestling fans don't know what they don't know. And I'm still a wrestling fan, and like I still have an insane amount of wrestling to learn. But even just, you see the tie up, as you said, collar and elbow. And when you learn that, you learn different steps, and then you kind of watch wrestling differently after the fact as well, right?
Really
so
do, yeah.
Everything kind of shifts. It's almost like with your basketball analogy. If you like basketball, and then you go to a tryout, and then like you get the role of point guard, then you're going to start focusing on a point guard when you're watching basketball.
Yeah,
right?
Even movie making, if you do background acting on anything, it will forever change how you watch television or movies.
Yeah.
You're going to be watching what the people in the back are doing, or you're going to be like, oh, that take must have taken them like 11 hours because you've lived that experience now.
Right. Yeah, and it's surreal, right? Like it just, things change. And I mean, I'm quote unquote lucky, if you will, that I can kind of watch. I have multiple lenses of watching wrestling because I can watch it as a fan. Then I also have the Pods Unknown lens, which is kind of critical, joking. And then I also have the student lens where, I'm watching someone that I respect or want to learn from, and like watching tape, if you will. So yeah, wrestling just, it's a constant growing, and if you love it, it'll give back to you in ways you can't even imagine. And then you have to figure out a way to give back yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like I just love that like aspect of going from fan to student to now you can like watch whatever it is with that new lens. And I think it's just like more people need to do that, because that's when you become like obsessed with something, obsessed with an interest, and then that's where real like excellence and perfection can like stem out of. Like that's why you see people who are so great at what they do is because they fully immerse themselves in whatever that field is.
Right.
And it's just like, it's fascinating to go through that experience as we age as well.
Yeah, it really is. Like this growing up thing is an interesting run, isn't it?
That's why I like this podcast. I'm like kind of like a time capsule. I'm just recording all this.
Well, even like I honestly just thought of in terms of like, being obsessed, and like there's a very good chance I was wearing a wrestling shirt the day we met.
Probably.
And you had your Get It Done shirt on.
Because I was right into Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah. The same thing. Like,
comedian though, you know what I mean? Like I love comedy. Like any, like the fact that like I would put on a shirt like that, I didn't even remember that. Like that shirt just unlocked the memory when you said that. Because I would wear that as a conversation starter. I thought it was hilarious.
It clearly worked.
It works. You know what I mean? Like it's just so good. What are your thoughts on Logan Paul making his way into wrestling? Do you think he's doing one-offs, or do you think he's actually serious about this?
He was involved. Was it last year? Yeah, I think it was last year. And I mean, like WrestleMania has always had celebrities involved.
Yeah, of course.
Like Bad Bunny was the musical artist there last year. And I mean, he had a great match. It was super entertaining. But it's just kind of par for the course, I guess, if you will, for WrestleMania, and that they always bring someone in. Do I consider myself a fan of Logan Paul? Like, not necessarily, but like I'm gonna watch him. Hopefully it's great. There's been other celebrities like Stephen Amell came into SummerSlam in 2015 and like had a fun match. Pat McAfee, who does commentary on SmackDown, he had a match in NXT a couple years ago, also great. He has a match at WrestleMania actually.
I was gonna say, I thought I saw Pat McAfee on there. Austin Theory, I think he's versing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in lieu of Vince. But yeah, like it's I wouldn't I wouldn't say I'm like necessarily through the roof excited, but I'm not against it by any means either.
Yeah, I just think there's something like really interesting about like I think celebrity now and celebrity then was just like so different.
Okay.
Because now it's like back then you had like, let's say Mike Tyson or somebody like come in and do a spot for the show, and then they were like back doing their own thing. But like, I think the more that we can integrate with like other people on social media, like seeing these people with like huge followings, just because maybe he actually has an interest in like wrestling. We don't even really know, right? Like he might be a huge wrestling fan, and this is like the craziest, and he's using that following of his to kind of open that door. So what it'll do is it'll reset the way that things are done. Instead, people will invest in themselves first and build that like audience, and by doing whatever say it's you talking about podcasting, there's going to be somebody that eventually finds your podcast. They love your podcast and they're like, love your takes on wrestling. And then they find out that you're a wrestler. They're going to go and pay for your show. Right. So he's like opening up that avenue and that kind of turning on that light bulb for people who aren't necessarily social media stars to start doing that, you know?
Yeah.
Because
brings in eyeballs, right? Like,
look at the opportunity that it got him though. Like he gets to like not headline, but he gets to be a part of WrestleMania, which is like some people's dreams. But the thing that they're taking for granted is that they're only focusing on the wrestling part and not all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And I see comedians doing this all the time too. They only write jokes and they don't make like a TikTok that's just like reacting to something that can bring in 83,000 new views.
Right.
That's like 100 people out of them. If they go buy a ticket to your show, you just made money, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great way of looking at it. And like that seems perfectly sound in my mind. Cause like how many people are going to be interested in WrestleMania that have no interest in wrestling specifically because Logan Paul's on the card?
Yeah.
And you know,
they just want to see him get his ass kicked, or they want to or they're a fan of his and they want to see him win. Like either way, there's going to be so many eyes. Yeah.
And WrestleMania is already the biggest spectacle, and it's, you know, how can you get even more eyeballs, and it's things like that. So as I said, like it's like there are wrestlers who give their lives and their bodies for this, and some people come in, but generally it's never like a long-term thing. So like, I don't make shows. I don't promote shows by any means. I'm just a guy who likes wrestling. So.
What are your thoughts on like AEW? Have you been tuning into AEW at all? Yeah.
It's I enjoy wrestling. That's something I say a lot in wrestling classes, that I like wrestling. And it's, you know, I'll watch it if wrestling's on. I'll watch it. Yeah. And AEW was, you know, it was the competition, if you will. And like I got into wrestling as a kid, kind of when WCW, the competition, was like phasing out. So I didn't see much of them, and it was kind of my first real experience of the wars. And like the Wednesday night wars were something that was awesome between Dynamite and NXT. And then after a year and a half, it kind of went to the wayside. And then most of the guys who were on NXT are now on AEW Dynamite.
It's funny the way that always works.
Yeah, right. Like it's kind of the way it seems to go. But like it's just, I love wrestling. Like they're separate companies for sure, but if wrestling's on, like I'll watch. Even
if TNA Impact's on, I'll have to flick that.
Yeah.
I went to an Impact show and it was dope. I saw Rob Van Dam perform live, and I was like, "This is the greatest!" Like,
did he hit the biggest 5-star ever?
He hit it huge. He hit it like 3 times, and the crowd just popped every time. It was just
that's an Impact classic for sure.
It was so good. The roll and then up, and then that was always my favorite. Is
the
like
Rolling Thunder,
somersault, stop, Rolling Thunder.
Yeah. I love the first piece of wrestling merch I ever bought, and I have no idea why I did it, but SmackDown came to, like, it was just a live show, and for some reason I bought
love
this,
those house shows. Those house shows were so fun.
I bought like a necklace of RVD. It had the dragon and the yin yang on it, and like I liked RVD, but I didn't consider him my favorite. But for some reason, I just pulled the trigger on, and I wore that thing to school for the next 2 months, probably.
Oh, bro, I remember getting like a DX shirt or something, and I wore that forever. I remember my brother got like a Rey Mysterio mask and like a John Cena chain that like spun around, and I was like, "You look so funny."
I had the "You Can't See Me" shirt, like the camo. I was all in on John Cena as a kid.
I remember when we were kids, we went to Niagara Falls, had like a wrestling
WWE Niagara
like a
Falls,
WWE store. Yeah. Oh my God, that place was incredible. You just walk in, you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. The first time I went there, I felt like I was in like a kid in Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. It was just, when you're a kid obsessed with WWE,
better
you walk
than
in,
Disney. You're like,
everything. It's like there's WWE action figures, there's like shirts, there's like everything you can think of, and like on all the promos, it was like, come down and you'll meet super. No one was there the day. But like, and
nobody's showing up to Clifton Hill and
they had the ride. Do you remember? It was
the ride. The
pile driver.
It was a pile driver. Yeah,
they called it the pile driver. Yeah, it was just
Holy
like the drop zone. But yeah, you unlocked a memory I haven't thought of in a while.
That place was the shit. I think about that place often. I don't even think it's still there anymore.
No, I think I think it's just some sort of gift shop now.
Probably. Niagara Falls is fascinating. They have this one little area that for like a couple months of the year, it's just thriving. And then the rest of that city is just awful. Sorry, anyone who lives in Niagara Falls, but it's not good.
I've been in a couple of years. Like I used to, for a while there, I was going to Niagara a bit, and like I had lots of fun. It was just buddies and I went up for my birthday one year, and like Clifton Hill is, I'm sitting there, birthday driving the Batman video game, having a blast.
You're like, this shit is great.
Yeah, great. Stop by WWE Niagara Falls and they sell calendars or something now. Like,
yeah. Have you ever like met a wrestler like at a show or like been?
Oh yeah, it's like, I mean, I've been lucky in terms of like Chinlock shows that I've been involved in a couple of them, and I've been pretty lucky to meet some people there. But yeah, like as a fan and stuff, I've met tons of House of Hardcore 9. Tommy Dreamer's company, House of Hardcore, they had a show in Toronto in 2015, and like I did the whole fan. Like I did every meet and greet, got pictures, and that was a fun time. I look back on that show fondly. My wrestling teacher,
I want to see who's your best and worst experience meeting, because I have those.
In terms of wrestlers?
Yeah.
Man, that's an even. I don't think I've ever had a bad experience meeting a wrestler, to be honest.
That's good.
In terms of best though, my favorite wrestler of all time is Kane, and I don't count it meeting him, but he hit my hand once, and like I pretty much almost fainted. House of Hardcore 9.
When did you hit your hand? You gotta explain this story, kids.
I had my hand out like a fan.
Oh, at a show, and you just kind of smacked it.
And he touched it with his choke slam glove, and I had an out of body experience.
You're like, I
still haven't watched this to this day. In terms of worst, like honestly, I don't think I have a story, to be honest. I'm sorry, that's not a great answer, but yeah,
that's totally cool.
I don't think I have one.
I'll tell you mine. So we'll hear. Do you want best or worst first?
Save the best for last.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's a good one. So Brockville, this is like so long ago. They had a show at the Memorial Center where they're like, we're gonna put on a wrestling show, and Jake the Snake is gonna be like headlining. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Jake the Snake is gonna be here. And it was just indie wrestlers that put on a show, and the show was great. Like I was like, this is a really, really good show. Like they had a hardcore match, there was like a ladder match. It was crazy. Like they were pulling out all the stops. And then it comes time for like the main event, and it's Jake, and this is before Jake got better. So This is like Jake when Jake was like not good. Okay, right. He was not doing good, and the match was just like we were kind of like everyone's kind of looking at each other like it dragged on weird.
Right.
And everything just felt like just a little out of time. Like it just wasn't like timed properly. A lot of stuff. And just sloppy. And I remember like being a kid and just wanting to like meet him. Like I just wanted to talk to him. And I went over to the side and like, tried to ask one of the wrestlers, like, is Jake coming out? Like, is he there or whatever? And I'll never forget, this wrestler just looks down at me and he's like, buddy, Jake just hit a line. I don't think he's going to be getting up for a while. And I was like, what? He told that to a kid. I was like, pardon me?
Brockville sounds interesting. I'm lucky enough that I've met Jake after he kind of
I'm happy he got better. You know what I mean? Like it made me so happy to see him, like that journey of seeing him get better, because like that experience as a kid stuck with me for so long.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, wrestling does like it does have a lot of demons that happen to some people. Some people
100%.
are so committed that they, put their bodies and multiple things on the line. And one thing that really sticks with me in my meeting with Jake, he was doing like a comedy, like just kind of stand-up show. And he apologized for any like bad matches and like things. And I thought that was interesting, is that, when
He said
when
specifically in Brockville, I had a bad match.
yeah, exactly. So weird.
So
but
we're
no, like
covered.
obviously it was a blanket statement, if you
of
will,
course.
but he was just kind of, he apologized for that he wasn't his best self, and he kind of let like wrestling and his fans down in a lot of ways. And that stuck with me in that sense, is that, he didn't necessarily need to apologize because, he's Jake the Snake Roberts, but he still decided he
the
should.
fact that he would.
Yeah, exactly.
Says a lot. Like about growth in the man's character now, of course. Best experience, Rey Mysterio.
Craziest, what was that like?
Craziest shit ever. Like I went to Ogdensburg with some like friends, like neighbors. The coolest part about like where I grew up is like my immediate neighbors on our street, we all loved wrestling. So it was like we had this little like street connection where it's like, oh, someone finds out that there's a show happening in Ogdensburg, so someone's parent is going to be able to take us there. You know what I mean? Like we were able to like kind of figure that out. So we go to this house show, SmackDown Live, it's not televised or anything. And this is shortly after Eddie Guerrero passed away.
Oh, okay.
So I had like a sign that said like we made like a Bristol board sign that said like rest in peace Eddie, and it had something on it like that. And just at the end of the show, I think Ray had like headlined the show, closed it out, and I'm like just holding up a sign, and he literally points and then gestures me to come over to the ring, and I was like, what the fuck? So I'm literally like come down from like the bleachers. We were in like not even on the floor. We were like up in the bleachers. Come down from the bleachers all the way up to the ring. He like gives me a big hug, says thank you, signs the poster, and I was just like shaking. For
Buddy,
like a week.
If you had told me this when we met, I'd have shit my pants.
I don't think it had happened yet. I don't think it had even happened yet.
Right.
I think it would have been shortly after we met, because we met young, right? Like.
Yeah, I'm just trying, because Eddie passed in 2005.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to think of when
we would have. Before that. I think we met before.
Did we? Yeah. That makes sense.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. It is weird to think about. Yeah, just a random meeting. But no, that's awesome. Like, so you were in the ring?
Not in the ring. So like I came up to like there's like the guardrail there, and he got out of the. So what he did was, it was just him in the ring. Like he was just like celebrating the win, and he was pointing at people and whatever. And the other guy, I don't even remember who he faced, but he'd already been out of the ring, and he was just having fun kind of with the crowd. And then sees me and gestures me over to the thing. He I just kind of went up to the railing, and he kind of leaned over, signed it, but then he took the poster into the ring and kind of held it up, and then he brought it out and then gave it back to me. And he did that with like a couple other people too. Right. And I was like, that's crazy. Like what are the fucking chances? Like
that's awesome.
To have him point at you, you're like, gee, this what?
Yeah. I can't even. Rey Mysterio pointing at you, like it's just frozen in time.
Yeah, you're like.
That's I don't want to say I'm jealous, but I'm extremely jealous.
I'm pretty sure I had that sign poster just somewhere in the basement of my parents' house. It's got to be framed. Let's see. Seeing as though we're talking about like past stuff as well too, a question I like asking a lot of people is if you could make a phone call to 15-year-old Sam and give him a piece of advice. It doesn't affect how things are going for you now or anything to do with this current timeline. Just think of it as like if there's someone young out there that's watching this episode that like, I don't know, just needs to hear something, but from the perspective of you to you.
Okay. That's interesting. If I could say anything that was, cryptic and not specific about the future, just keep going after what makes you happy. Is that, as you were saying earlier, some people, have things that they want to do and they don't exactly get around to them. People kind of wait for the sign to show up and, like, oh, that was a sign that I knew. The signs are there. Like, if you want to do something, you want to do it. If you want to make time for something, you make time for it. And I know that I was afraid of a lot of things when I was 15. You know, I was worried about what people thought. And, you know, I made a lot of moves based on how I could be seen the least amount. So I guess, yeah, if I could just bring it back, something I would tell 15-year-old Sam is do what makes you happy. Doesn't matter what other people think. As long as you're not hurting anyone else, do what makes you happy.
That's always the caveat to add too, because I've said that before on this podcast, is do what makes you happy. I'm like, unless it's murdering people, don't do that.
Well, I mean, what makes me happy is hurting someone in a wrestling ring, which is a little different.
That's what I'm saying. You're like, it just makes me so happy to choke slam the shit out of this.
It sure does. That is a move I do as well. And I got to tell you, doing the choke slam is a good time.
I followed though your RKO journey. What was that like to finally hit that shit?
That's I call it the diamond cutter.
The diamond cutter, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just forever know it as the RKO out of nowhere.
That's what I noticed as well.
He's pioneered it.
Yeah, it's no, it was just something that was kind of, you know, it became like one of my favorite moves. Like as soon as I saw Randy Orton do it. And even DDP, like I really like the way DDP did the diamond cutter. And there was just one day in class where it kind of came around that we were learning some moves, and there's no shortage of lists. The list is not that short of the moves I want to learn in a wrestling class. And so I want to learn the diamond cutter, and I did it, and it was quite literally like the coolest feeling I've ever had in the world at that point, because it was, you know, it's something you always, you know, I always played like the wrestling video games and created my own guy and made him do RKO. And then, you know, I watched CJ Felony for years and years and years, and then he's now teaching me wrestling, and he taught me like my favorite move, like both the choke slam and the diamond cutter. And it's just kind of this out of body experience. And again, the imposter syndrome, where it's like, did I just do that? Like, am I like, should I have done that? Like, am I like, what's going on? And it, and then it just came about that I would continue doing it. And then, in my first match, I did end up pulling off the diamond cutter. And like, that was just, I almost have trouble like remembering that night. Like I didn't eat for literally 2 days prior. I was just so nervous. Like I love and respect wrestling so much that I never wanted to let wrestling down and like wrestling fans down, if that makes sense. And I was just so incredibly nervous that day. And then at the end of the match, I pulled off the diamond cutter on the Immaculate Ray St. John, who I learned a lot from that night. It was, you know, like one of the tough, I've only had 2 matches, but he was an incredibly tough opponent, and I respect him greatly. Someone else I've watched with, and I was lucky enough to hit the diamond cutter, and 1, 2, 3 got the pin. And just in terms of not remembering it, I don't know if I like dissociated or blacked out, because I remember standing in front of the curtain and I heard my music play, and like literally like it went black, and then when I came to, I was like in the ring, like on the second rope, like looking, and I turned around and there's Ray St. John. I'm about to wrestle a match, and I'm like, okay, like here we are. Apparently I walked to the ring and like cheered and stuff, so autopilot did good.
Like I did something.
Wrestling is just it. Again, I'm a fan of wrestling. I have been my entire life, and we're back to COVID. COVID got in the way of Chinlock entirely, but one thing that is exciting is that Chinlock has announced their comeback June 4th at the Kingston Thousand Island Sportsplex in Kingston.
Nice.
Tommy Dreamer from ECW and House of Hardcore is going to be there. The Cale Murphy Memorial Champion Jesse Mack defends her title against Danny Franchise. It's going to be a great show. I'm definitely excited for it. It's been far too long for Chinlock, just anything really, because of this COVID business. But Chinlock's finally coming back, and it finally feels like real life is starting to come back.
Yeah, seeing people like walking around without masks on, I'm like, okay, all right, we're getting back to this.
What was that like for you? Like after, because we were in isolation for the first week of it, right?
Everyone seems like happier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people see your face and they're like, hey, what's up? Like they're like psyched when you don't have a mask on. They're like, oh my god, oh shit, me neither. Like, me too.
I've still been wearing mine just out of like, I don't know, it feels wrong.
I do wear it in certain scenarios.
Yeah.
If I'm like because there's part of me that's also like, I want to wear it in like an elevator or like a closed space where like there's not, I might be close to someone and I can't distance. But if I'm walking into like a store where they have like they legally have to have good ventilation and all this stuff. So I'm just like, we have to get back to normal at some point. And like to do that, you have to take off the mask at some point.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, you're gonna get sick either way. Like I got sick, like, and I had my mask on and I'm double vaxxed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's gonna happen. So for my own mental health, at some point the mask has just got to start coming off in certain scenarios.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Like I'm not there yet, I guess, if that makes sense. Like,
of course.
I absolutely
Everyone will
support.
have their own moment.
Yeah. And like everyone has their right to choose now, which I do appreciate.
100%.
Like it's, like if you want to wear a mask, you can wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask, you don't have to wear a mask.
You have the option.
I definitely
most who want it, right?
Yeah. And I'm definitely ready for life to come back. And like, I don't know if I necessarily want to talk about it, but like just with COVID and like the last year, like a year ago today, I was having emergency surgery. So I'm having a way better, I'm having a way better evening tonight. So, I almost don't even remember what life was like before COVID. Cause like things went haywire and again, ended up needing emergency surgery. And I had a injury that was life-changing, I guess, in some ways. And yeah, like it's just the chin lock event as is one thing, but then mask coming off. And as I said, like life is kind of coming back in a way. Right. And I don't know if we'll ever get back to pre-COVID, if you will, but I have faith that we'll have a new normal that feels right.
Yeah, it'll just be like, it's different, but it's okay. Like it's like, this is the new normal. And like, the thing is, humans adapt. We are incredibly adaptable creatures. Like there are people that live in like some of the harshest conditions that you could ever think of, and they literally survive off of almost nothing all day. It's like, we can get used to a few different like changes, like you gotta wear a mask in this scenario, it's whatever. Like if that's the new normal, then like I think people need to just kind of, I think denial is people's biggest problem, is they just don't want to let go of that. And there was even that nostalgia hold on before COVID where people didn't want to let go of the 80s, let's say. Right. They're just like holding on to that time period. You're always going to have that. So it's like, I think we are, like you said, moving in a direction where it's like, it's better.
It feels sustainable for the first time in a long time.
And like I said earlier, with like like taking the test and being like, oh my God, thank God it's just COVID, Yeah. I was at that point where I'm like, well, at least we have something, because before this, I didn't know what I was sick of. Do I go to the hospital? Do I have the flu? Do I have a head cold? Do I have a sore throat? It could have been 100 different things. Now it's just COVID,
Yeah.
At least that's what it feels like.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Doctors, some doctor somewhere is screaming. He's like, "You could still get the flu."
Here's an example on not science. The Johnny Rogers.
Yeah. Don't come to me for your science. Oh, God.
Now the fact check part of the show.
I want to like hear though about this. Like you said, life-changing injury, and let's get into that. I took a new job. Like I said, COVID started, and that put, it didn't put an end on wrestling, but obviously the school kind of postponed indefinitely with the global pandemic. And I took a new job, and I fell on ice. And I'm a professional wrestling student. I got back up and continued working, and 6 weeks, over the course of 6 weeks, I was just like slowly deteriorating. And like walking started to become difficult. And then, went to the hospital a few times, and they told me, like, just take some time off. You just pull the muscle, you'll be fine. After multiple hospital visits and x-rays and CT scans, turns out I broke my spine, which Jesus.
was, I know. I still haven't processed it fully. I know I haven't. And yeah, like it's on my birthday last year, I like quite literally lost the ability to walk. And that was not fun. It was scary. I was sitting on that couch right across in the room I'm in right now, actually. And I was just watching a movie, and I couldn't get up to switch the movie. And then I ended up, I was immobile it was the beginning of February to April 2nd. It was and then also sorry, during my broken spine when I couldn't walk, my gallbladder also failed inside of my body, and I needed
nice.
it because it turned gangrenous and was necrotizing and almost killed me. So
Oh.
yeah, that was really fun. A year ago today, I had the surgery, and yeah, so that was fun. But then after the surgery, when they told me to get up and walk around, I was able to walk because while my spine was healing, we found out after the fact that sometimes gallbladders swell and put pressure on your lower spine, which is also where I broke my spine. So it was kind of this
It's
weird
like a chain reaction.
Yeah.
They really said like everything's connected, right?
Yeah, for real. So yeah, that was the most of my year last year. I was like off work in rehab for a long time, but like now again, in terms of like the Chinlock show and everything, like I feel like I'm on the other side of not only COVID, even though we both just had it, but of that, because I'm back in the gym. I'm working my back out, things like that. And so it feels almost like where I was before. So I'm happy about that. But yeah, like if I could call my 15-year-old self, is do what makes you happy, you know?
And don't walk on that fucking ice.
Yeah, get boots if you're gonna walk on ice.
Get
for sure. Maybe even
tread.
ice skates.
Get some tread on those boots, boy. Or lay
I have boots
salt.
now, so less chance of.
You've learned your lesson at this point.
Yeah, I sure did.
The thing with being in those like crippling states though is when you are better, it makes you appreciate it so much more.
Yeah.
Like you do not take health for granted after something like that. You were like, I am happy and healthy today, and fucking thank God. Like that's physically it's just been, you know, like I was always, I guess, like thankful that I could walk. Like I worked with a lot of kids with physical and developmental disabilities, so I definitely like knew that I was privileged in the sense that I could walk. But then after losing the ability and then regaining it, like you do realize that you don't even. I feel like everyone who is like able to walk and mobile and everything, like it's not that they take it for granted, but in a sense, you almost take. Oh, cut out for a second.
Set is just something that you
Sorry,
know. Even
you cut out a bit there.
Oh,
you said the thing about.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. You just cut it out after you said the thing about people who can walk. They don't take it for granted.
That they kind of take it for granted. The thing is with people who like are able to walk, it's not that they take it for granted, but it's almost like they take it for granted, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like even just like going to the washroom like during that time, you have to mentally prep every single movement and step you're going to make. And honestly, that was the day I knew things were starting to get better after the fact, is that I didn't have to think about every movement I was going to make with my body. So yeah, man, it's even just thinking about it now, it's just bringing back things I haven't thought of in a while. It's not fun. Like, take care of yourself.
Yeah, guys, that was one of the reasons too why I had like stopped going to like wrestling training, to be honest with you, is because I was 18 years old and I found myself driving. I went to what's it called? It was in Ottawa. Big Time Pro Wrestling or Rage Wrestling. I can't remember what the promotion was called. But I had taken so many bumps of just front bumps and back bumps that driving home, I could feel this like sharp pain in my lower back. Oh. And I was like, oh, that's not good. Like I shouldn't be 18 and like feeling back pain. Like that's some shit when you're like 40 that you get back pain because you pick something up wrong. And I'm like, I have back pain because I've been repeatedly slamming myself on my back, throwing myself on my back 50 times a night, 3 nights, 4 nights a week. And I was like, okay, that was my point where I was like, I need to do something else. I need to transition. And it was kind of like also a realization that I was like, I enjoy wrestling and I'm a fan of wrestling, but what I really loved about it was the entertainment aspect of it.
Right.
It was like being that person who like can captivate, can take control of a crowd, you know?
Yeah.
The person on the mic was the person that I was more drawn to versus being the person taking the actual bumps. Because in all honesty, I'm 140 pounds soaking wet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna be the jobber that comes in that's like from parts unknown.
Hey, you never know,
Steve.
man. Like it's
You're that guy's Steve.
Steve.
And
Like,
he just gets mauled.
yeah. I mean, yeah, like it's everyone's got a different story, and like I never thought that I was kind of, you know, someone that could wrestle, and like I'm tall and like I'm a big guy and stuff, but you know, it's just, if again, do what makes you happy, you know.
It honestly is like you can do it, and like you can like, had I been actually committed to that wrestling part of it, I would have found a way to circumvent the back pain. You know what I mean?
Right.
But instead, I used that. I'm giving this as an example. I used that as a moment to like check myself out of it.
Right. Yeah.
Be like, not for me, because I didn't actually want it that bad.
Yeah.
It was just, but like the fact that I did it, the fact that I went for it was enough to like now be able to do that with anything else that I was interested in.
Yeah, and you've done acting, comedy, like all kinds of stuff.
I
right?
try
Like
everything. I've got a rap album coming out April 20th.
Yes, I know about that. Yeah, at 4:20 p.m.
Yeah. Undeniably dope. So you know what I mean? Like I whatever I want to do, I just go for it now, and I think
that's awesome. Like we've, not that we've lost touch, but like we've always been Facebook friends, and I've followed your career and everything, and you're definitely someone that always just, you know, you want to do something, you do it, and like that's something I respect about you and always have. And
I respect the hell out of you too, man, for going for wrestling. That's what I was like.
Just in terms of your back pain there, that's kind of where I'm at, is that like I've been cleared to wrestle from my spine specialist, and again, I'm working out and getting my back in order. But
that's the thing, is make sure your core is like strong as hell,
and that's I've been doing that like every day. Like that was part of my rehab, was like constant core exercises, and like it's going to be different, I think, when I go back, but like I'm committed to figuring out how to get back in that ring, because
you can do you can take bumps, or you can do other things that will like ease you into just being tossed on that, because like taking your front bump is like, it hurts if the ring isn't padded. If it's just, because you might wrestle at a different promotion and you don't know what the fuck they're working with under the ring's
different. Yeah,
it might just be plywood for all you know, right? Like a little bit of this much padding. So it's like,
and that's what I mean. Like it comes with like the
but
territories.
if you know how to do it though, if you know how to like style yourself as a wrestler, which I'm sure you will, you'll figure out. You'll figure out a way.
And that's the goal, and that's where I'm at now. And like I'm definitely committed to that journey, and I've been cleared by a doctor, and that's what matters.
That's what matters. I want to try, this is a new thing that I'm going to start doing on the podcast. I'm going to do it with you first, is I need you to just explain this photo. So I pulled this from your social media, and I just need you to explain this photo.
Yeah, you know my brother Dave Hudson, that's a problem. This was we were at Universal Studios, and went like on a family trip. I think I was 6 here, and E.T. was like my absolute favorite movie as a kid, and they had this ride. It was E.T. the ride, and I think it sat probably 6 people, and my parents were nice, and they let me sit in the one with E.T. in the milk crate in the front. And embarrassingly enough, I probably shouldn't admit this, there's this photo here, and there's probably about 6 others, because I got on that ET bike after the ride every single time we went.
I love that. That's so great.
And how this hit social media is my parents sold like my childhood home, I guess, just over a couple of years ago now, and we were clearing things out, and my wonderful older brother Dave found this and posted it all over social media.
Shout out to Dave for this gem of a photo. Make sure you check out Sam's show, Pods Unknown. It's a podcast that's available on Spotify, iTunes, I'm sure, as well, anywhere else you listen to podcasts. At Red Hudson 8 on Instagram, at Red Hudson 8 on Twitter. Anything else you want people to know about? Or
that's basically, again, Chinlock Wrestling coming back. Chinlock Wrestling comeback Saturday, June 4th, Kingston, Ontario, at the Kingston Thousand Island Sportsplex. And yeah, Pods Unknown is what's going on in terms of the podcasting right now, and just made an appearance on the Johnny Rogers show, and very happy to be here. And no, thank you, man. Like I appreciate the my Twitter and Instagram are nothing special. It's just me being me on there, but
yeah, shout it out, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And like I said, I'll be back in the ring one day, and hopefully sooner rather than later. And yeah, it's
Hell yeah, man.
I hope we can do this
wrestling
again.
Come on. Yeah. Come back on for sure. We'll have you back on. Thank you,
man.
everybody, for watching and listening on Apple and Spotify, wherever else you're listening to. I think a lot of people listen on Apple. If you're listening on Apple, leave a 5-star review. That always helps. I really appreciate that. And share the episode with your friends. But until next time, I've been your host, Johnny Rogers. This is Sam Hudson.
Hello. Thank you.
Keep it classy, everybody.
You've been listening to The Johnny Rogers Show. New episodes air every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.